you know.
Do you not watch the show?
I don't do the editing, so I don't remember that.
What about the show?
I watch the show. I'm there with you on Mondays. Well, most of the time anyway.
Not recently.
Bueller?
Yes.
Was it good?
Hey everyone, welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I'm Bueller. Today is episode 118 of the brand new Coffee and Comic Show. And as you can see, I'm not alone. I got my good friend Bob here with me. Bob, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic, my friend.
It's weird to see him this happy. I mean, it's weird to see him. Is it because your wife's out of town?
No. I'm feeling good, man.
Yeah?
I started doing some things for my health again. I feel like I'm back. I lost 10 pounds so far this week.
There you go.
You know, I'm like putting things behind me and moving forward, and I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Episode 118, let's do this.
And the wife's out of town.
And the wife's out of town, but she's just up the street at her sister's house.
Okay, yeah.
She's at a clown convention.
I'm not going to get in trouble for saying that, am I?
No.
Okay, good. Let's talk about the coffee we're drinking today. We always drink the coffee brought to you by Mocha Express, the official coffee shop of Comics with Bueller. What are you having today, Bob?
This is another 5-shot Americano brewed with cinnamon with some sugar-free vanilla sweetener in it.
Oh,
it's so good. So tasty.
Look how happy. I mean, he's just glowing. He's like he's pregnant or something. You know, he's glowing. I don't know what it is. Talking about the bubble today.
Talking about the bubble,
he's all
baby.
happy about the bubble. So there you go. Well, I'm drinking none other than, you know what? The Bueller.
The Bueller.
The drink that's actually named after me. It's just peanut butter and stuff like that.
Peanut butter mocha.
Yeah. So, but it is wonderful, and I haven't had it in a while. So here we go. Close my eyes. I'm in heaven. My wife's out of town too. Has been for about 15 years.
Bueller's wife, Runnoft.
Life is good, my friend. Life is good.
There you go.
Anyway, we got a few announcements today before we get started, so let me kind of run those down. First things first, my variant is coming out this week.
Yeah.
At least half of them. There is a delay in the shipping. It just is what it is. My apologies. I'm getting most of the order this week, and the rest of it will come next week. So by the end of next week, they will all be shipped out to you guys. And I also want to say thank you to Comic Pro Line for providing all the bags and boards.
Good friend Tony.
Appreciate that, Tony, for doing that, and the people at Comic Pro Line. So you'll get those nice boards and bags on the Comics with Bueller exclusive. But like I said, about half of them are going out this week, and the rest of them will be out next week. It turned out I'm going out of town. I'm going to New Mexico on Friday, and I don't get back till Monday. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you know, that's kind of putting a wrinkle in how fast I can get them out. And this was planned a while ago for me to go visit my daughter. And by the way, she's doing great. She did have the COVID, and she's all healed up. She's out of quarantine. She's just fine now. She's doing great. You know, she's like, I'm bored. She was actually fine like the second day she had it.
Yeah.
You know, because she's young and healthy and stuff. But she's back to work now and doing her thing, and I get to see her on Friday, so I'm pretty excited. But the exclusive, like I said, most of them will get out this week, and the rest of them will be out next week. Get it all taken care of. You guys will get, I think it's 2 or 3 day shipping, whatever it is. You know, it's first class or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. So they're on their way, or they're kind of on their way. So there you go. So very excited about that. And also, in case you guys are wondering, that book, the Blowtorch #1, sold out on Midtown.
Woo!
So you guys are getting lucky. Like, I don't know if that means anything, but apparently there's a demand for it. And
it blew up.
I'm the only one that has an exclusive. It blew up, the Blowtorch.
Yeah. So let's see what you did there.
Yeah, look at that. You like that, don't you? Another announcement here really quick. Our good friend Justin Richards, who is the creator of Finger Guns, and he was actually on an episode of the Coffee, kind of a spin-off of the Coffee and Comic Show. He's got a new book that he's doing right now. It's a Kickstarter. It's called The Silent Night, or A Silent Night. It's on his Kickstarter. We'll leave a link down below. He's actually going to come on the show probably when I get back. We're scheduled something because the Kickstarter goes through the end of the month. But we were both really big fans of Finger Guns.
Finger Guns, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to what he's doing in this one. And he's a really good guy. Like I said, he's been on the show. He's a local here in the Pacific Northwest. He actually lives kind of down a ways, you know, it takes a while. But you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing him again and talking about his new book. And his first one went really well.
Yeah, it did.
His very first pitch got picked up.
That is awesome.
And he dreamed it, remember?
Yeah, that's right. He did say that.
He literally, how'd you come up with this book? I had a dream. And that was it. That's awesome. So there you go. But anyway, his Kickstarter is down below. Check it out. If you want to help support an independent creator, you can do so. Like I said, the Kickstarter runs till the end of the month. I think he's about halfway funded, so not bad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Another one, and this is pretty exciting because I've been mentioning them for a while now, and we're partnering up with Bird City Comics.
Yes.
And they've been providing us with some giveaways, and they do a lot of exclusives and stuff like that. Some great covers. They did the Grey Horn Aliens cover, and apparently a lot of you guys really enjoyed that cover because they sold a whole bunch of them. They have reached out to me again, and they said, you know what, we want to do something special for your viewers. So the Bueller code now works on their website. Enter the code Bueller, anything in their store, 10% off, which is great.
That's amazing.
They offered it to us.
Woo!
We didn't ask it. They wanted to give it to us. They really appreciate the business we've brought to them. So whatever you want to get on their website, just enter the code Bueller at checkout, and you save 10%.
Yeah, I would invite, go check it out. They got more than just exclusives,
Yes.
and the exclusives alone are amazing.
Yeah.
So go check them out. Get that 10% discount. You won't be sorry, I guarantee it.
Yeah, and also a really cool thing, and I got to say thank you to them, but there's a Miles Morales Spiderman number 25. There's a Greg Horn 3-pack that's coming out.
Ooh.
Okay? They're really cool looking. I'm putting some images on the screen right here. If you order that and you put the code Bueller in just a couple weeks, there's another variant. A fourth. That just you guys who use the Bueller code will qualify to get.
So the print run on that one will be even smaller.
Even smaller, yeah.
Right.
So it's pretty much based on how many people use the Bueller code.
Wow.
And then that's how many there is. I mean, it might be a little bit different. I don't know. But it's pretty close to that. So to qualify for that, you have to use the Bueller code.
That's amazing.
So that is pretty awesome. So thank you, Bird City Comics, for doing that. I haven't even seen it yet. I've just seen the 3 regular ones. I haven't seen the 4th one.
Wow.
They're hiding it from me. And the relationship with them is just growing. So what that means for me on my end and your end, maybe a team up between Comics with Bueller and Everything Comics and Bird City Comics, and all of a sudden you start seeing some mainstream titles, variants, and stuff like that coming this way, because that'd be really nice. So
that'd be amazing.
Anyway, Bird City Comics, check out their website, birdcitycomics.com, enter the code Bueller. You save 10% and get those Greg Horn Miles Morales books, and you qualify for the secret one, the secret variant.
The secret variant.
There you go. Tom always talks about secrets.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so that's pretty exciting news. You know, like I said, thank you so much to them. Let's just do a rundown of what's on the show today real fast. We'll start off with our first 5 brought to you by Comic Proline. We'll do our topic today, which is the bubble. We're going to talk about the 90s bubble, what similarities it might have to what's going on today, what the differences are, and just what the 90s bubble was in general. Because a lot of people just ask, what was it? What happened and whatnot.
Right.
We'll do our final 5 brought to you by Comic Proline. We'll have Robbie's pick of the week, and we'll do our Was It Good segment as well. We don't have our random thoughts segment. We're going to pass that up until another couple weeks, because next week we actually don't have a show because I'm out of town, obviously, in New Mexico, but I'll probably do something with my daughter.
Yeah.
That's always fun. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we get started on those, let me just say thank you so much to the people who dropped a super chat from last week. We're now calling it something different. It's now called the Chalupa Chat.
Yes.
Which just kind of came out of nowhere on Friday. But last week we had 3 Chalupa Chats, and we had one from Rob Boswell, the Rogue Trader as well, and of course Thomas Jackman. All Chalupa Chat supporters. That's awesome. Super Chalupa Chats.
Super Chalupa Chats. There we
Chalupa
go.
Super Chats. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, we've renamed it. It's called the Chalupa Chat from now on, so there you go. We also had like 7 new people join our Patreon. Let me run down their names. We have Michael Paul, Stephen Mumford, Marvin Wayne, Rob Fable, Patrick Pelgrave, and Darren Swan. I think I got that all right. All those people joined our Patreon just last week, so thank you very much. I think this is our biggest week for new Patreon since we first started doing Patreon. So apparently we're doing something good and people want to support us. But if you're interested, our Patreon is $3.99 a month, the price of 1 comic book a month. Do you think Bob is worth 1 comic book a month? He's worth it. You're worth it. And join our Patreon. We greatly appreciate it. It does help out a lot. Keeps the lights going. Keeps everything flowing.
Absolutely. Thank you for all the support.
That's right. So thank you all them. And we also put you on the end of our video. We have that Star Wars scroll with all the names. Mm-hmm. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, let's get going, man. All right, you ready?
Let's do this.
All right, let's go ahead and start with our first 5 brought to you by Comic Proline. And you know what? I'll go first. How about
Okay.
that? All right, I got my 5 right here. And these are just random variants that some don't even make any sense. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Conan the Barbarian with Spiderman on the front.
Sweet. That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense, but you know what? Whatever. Here's Old Man Logan. This one does make sense. It has Wolverine and the Punisher on there.
Love it.
Not bad. I got to tilt them. Make sure I get that glare off so you guys can see it.
Love that series.
Here is the Black Cat number 2, the Carnageized one. I think that was pretty cool. There you are. Not bad. Look at this one. I know you like this one. Doctor Doom number 6. This is the Mike Mayhew variant that you could buy in the store. You didn't even have to go to his website and get it.
Hated the series. Loved that cover.
There you go. And then I have an Alex Ross Marvel X variant. Or no, this is the regular cover. So there you go. That is my first 5 brought to you by Comic Pro Line. All right, Bob.
Very good.
You're up.
All right. So this week I brought some Batman love. Let me put my glasses on so I can read the numbers here. So the first one is, this is from the DC Rebirth. This is Batman number 34. You get a little bit of glare action there,
Nice.
taking it off. Then we got Batman Confidential number 21.
Ooh.
A little Batgirl on there.
Well,
And then we got Batman number 442. You guys will know this as a key issue. I forget what the key is on there.
that's a
it's
bubble.
like first Jason
That's a
Todd.
bubble book right there.
I know. We got Batman 87, and this is the Matina cover, as my buddy likes to call him, Funky Cold Matina.
Funky Cole Matina, how you doing?
And then we got Batman Death in the Family. This is number 426.
Nice.
Iconic cover, iconic Batman book. And there you have it. There's my first 5.
Did you like the Death in the Family storyline?
I did.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Not bad. Anyway, that's our first 5 brought to you by none other than Comic Pro Line. Some variants, some Batman, some good stuff all around, right?
Good stuff all around.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our topic. And our topic today is brought to you by none other than Black Box Comics. You can go to their website, blackboxcomics.net. Enter the code Bueller10. You save 10% off all their books. The Kaji book, the
Shinokage.
Shinokage, you got it. You guys know it. Devil's Dominion, some other new books, or whatever they have on their website. You save 10%. It's awesome. They're really good people there at Black Box. Thank you very much to those guys.
Absolutely.
But our topic today is the 90s bubble.
The bubble, baby!
Told you, man. He's kind of lost it. But we're going to basically just talk about some of the similarities and some of the differences, because there's actually more differences than there are similarities to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, oh, this is the next bubble. And I'll just tell you right now, it's not. It's just not. And if you think the bubble is going to burst or we're heading towards that direction, we're not. And we're going to tell you why over these next few comments and stuff like that. And we've done some research, and we have some numbers and some dates that are pretty important, and we'll share those with you as we kind of go along. But the first one, I got it here. This is from Tiger Tail ZZ2. And Tiger Tail says, to this day, I still don't really understand what the bubble means back in the 90s. Maybe it's because I wasn't really aware of what was going on back then like I am today. With the help of the internet and YouTube, all I know is that when Image came out, I went crazy buying everything in sight, even multiple copies. Was I part of the cause of the bubble? Please let me know. So he's just basically asking what the bubble is.
Yep.
And you were a little bit a part of it.
Yes, you were.
We all were.
Yeah, we all were.
If you were collecting back then, the more than likely we got caught up in the number 1 hype and all that stuff. I myself was done before the bubble happened, before it started to go. So I stepped out in like 92.
Oh, wow.
So I missed all that stuff. With all, the whole Death of Superman thing, I didn't.
Saved yourself some money, buddy.
I sold out, man. I sold everything I had before that and just kind of went from there. It really wasn't on my radar until later on. But were you around collecting during the bubble?
Yes, I was.
And what do you think?
At the time, I mean, it was part of the craze, and I got caught up in it too. I started listening to people that were giving advice on collecting, and the advice back then was buy three of everything.
Yeah.
Right. Buy one for your personal collection, one that within 5 years you're going to sell to get some gains back for your collection, so that you keep your capital going, and then one that you wait 10, 15, 20 years down the road that you're going to sell. And so that I got caught up in that. So there were a number of titles that I bought 3 of.
So who was telling you that?
So there was Dr. back then I was into some nefarious stuff, and there was a couple of guys that owned an insurance company that had done investment banking, and they did all kinds of different investing. They were into the whole sports card thing, and they were saying that when you do stuff like investing, especially when you're doing collecting, you have to have a plan, and that's the type of plan that they laid out, and it seemed to be going around from everybody that was kind of the thing.
They were just telling everybody
exactly.
That. Yeah.
So
the main thing that caused the bubble is the supply. There was more supply than there was demand, and the demand dropped. And as soon as the demand dropped, the supply still sat there.
Yeah.
And people were just sitting on these books, and there was more supplies. Guess what? Coming in every Wednesday, more and more and more and more and more. And the stores couldn't handle it. They weren't selling the books. They're just sitting there on the shelf, and just the demand wasn't there. And that pretty much is the cornerstone of what the bubble is. Too much product, not enough people there to buy it, and the bubble burst. They couldn't stay in business.
Right.
A bunch of comic shops closed because the demand wasn't there. The demand, like what you just said, when you heard these things, and you heard it from comic shops and from these random shops that just pop up, they're like, hey, buy multiple copies, buy all these. There wasn't a lot of checks and balances in place that there are now, as far as ordering books or printing books, and how it's based on how they print books now is a lot different than what it was back then.
Oh, sure.
And image was obviously a big problem. When they first came out, they just printed millions and millions of copies of books and sent them out to everything and all that stuff. And then the demand was there at the beginning, but it very quickly faded very quickly after that.
As soon as the bottom dropped out on the sports card industry as an investment, then what they did was they turned their attention to comics because that's what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
And then when they started announcing, look, these are going to be worth nothing, right? Then all those people that were doing investment buying stopped, right? And so, again, the demand went away, and all you were left with was the actual collectors, true collectors, and they got hosed, right? Because everybody started dumping everything, and then, of course, Marvel almost went bankrupt.
Yeah, well, they did go bankrupt.
Well, they did.
But like they saw on the news, oh, look at that, Action Comics #1 sold for $1 million, whatever it was, just throwing it out there. Maybe this is going to be worth it too. Well, that can't be the case, because nothing that's collectible, considered collectible, actually is marketed as being collectible, is ever really collectible. Because it's marketed that way. Back when Action Comics #1 came out, it wasn't collectible. It was just a story to read on paper.
Right.
And that's the way everyone looked at it, okay? There was a lot of copies printed, but a lot of them didn't make it. A lot of them got burned. A lot of paper got recycled for the war and everything, or just, didn't make it. People back then buying books were not like, oh, where's my bag and board?
Right.
It wasn't even the thing. It wasn't even the thing. And now, in the 90s, it was like, this has that potential, and they sold that to the average consumer when that was fake. Because it doesn't. Because there's the reason why that's valuable is because it's rare. The reason why that Batman #1 is valuable is because it's extremely rare. And there's only like 100 in existence. Not 100 million. That's the difference right there.
Right.
And that supply of books was so enormous, and the demand fell, and that made everything, that was it. That was it.
Yep.
So if you got so much product, and there's no one to sell it to, you can't stay in business.
That's exactly right. I think it's so cool that we're talking about this subject on the very week that Superman, the Action Comics this week sold for $3.25 million.
That's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
That's a lot of money. All right, I got the next one here. This is from a Comic Collector Geek. He says, I experienced the bubble in the 90s. It was mainly due to the massive overprinting. That's kind of what we said about the supply. Mm-hmm. Today, we don't have the multi-million print runs. However, one concern I do have is books can still be overinflated, where spec buyers hype a book that isn't really that good. Star Wars High Republic would be a good example of this. When it comes to the hype, everything's hyped right now. Anything and everything and anything is hyped. I mean, it just, I don't know, it just is what it is, and it's, as a consumer, you have to sit there and say, that can't be right. Everything can't be hyped.
That's right.
And that's an easy thing to do. That's an easy thing to say, not every book is worth the hype.
Or a key.
And that should be an easy thing for us with the tools that are available right now to say, you know what, even though there is some talk about this, maybe it's nothing, and sometimes there's hype about something that doesn't even exist, and it turns out it doesn't exist. It never comes to fruition or whatnot,
Yeah.
So it's up to everyone to realize if it was spaced out and you only heard hype every now and then yeah, that makes sense. But since it's so flooded with hype, then I think the common sense says, well, that can't really be. They all can't be AAA.
Right.
You know, not every book can be a key. Not every book can be a AAA title. And common sense tells you that's the case.
Sure.
And I think with that knowledge, then we can kind of weed through the ones that are going to actually be keys or be good down the road, and the ones that are just like flavor of the week.
Right, exactly.
So, anyway.
Well, I mean, you've done numerous videos on it. We've had some good friends that have also done videos on it. I mean, go back and watch some of the stuff that Bueller has done in the past where he shows you, books that have inflated when they were hot because of speculation, and then look at it just a year later and see how many of those books actually maintained that high price, and how many of them went down. And it's a huge percentage that go way down.
Sure.
And so, do your research. Go back and watch those videos and watch the trends. JP's Budget Collecting. He does a great video.
Every week.
He shows you every week what was hot 6 months ago and what it's at now. And, the majority of those books, they're not holding their value.
Yeah.
And so when the speculation bubble goes up, unless you're one of those guys that's hot and on it, right? 9 times out of 10, if you're just going to buy it because, oh my gosh, I got to have this now, wait. If you wait a little while longer, you can get that book for a better price.
Well, just try to, if it's a new book, try to get it at cover price when it comes out. That's the thing. That way, if you get it for cover and it pops and it's $20, great, you just made some money. But if it goes down to $10, guess what? You still made money.
Yeah.
And you gotta, don't get pissed that it goes down to 10, even though you only paid 4.
Right.
Okay. Be happy that it's still worth more than what it was because you were investing in a book to make a little bit of money. Okay. There's always gonna be a peak of everything, and then it kind of comes down. And everything always peaks and then comes down. Mm-hmm. Whether you're able to sell it at that peak or not, I don't know. That's 9 times out of 10. Most people end up, I'll just wait a little bit longer, and all of a sudden that was the peak a week ago, and now it already went down. So then I sell it for what I can get. But if you only paid cover price for it and you're still making money, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you should look at it.
Absolutely.
That's the way I looked at it when I sold stuff. I could probably make more money, but I could sell it right away, and I make a little bit of money.
Right.
So, anyway. All right, Bob, you got the next one.
All right, so the next one comes from Keith Nettleton. He says, I remember when comic stores started popping up in malls, but none of those things had much effect on me. I lived in a city where that comic shop is still in operation, although they have moved location. And price-wise, I always do research, so that's that.
Yeah. So let's go back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. There was over 10,000 comic shops in the 90s and growing. 10,000, okay? 9 out of 10 of those stores closed in the span of about 4 years in the middle of the 90s. Obviously, right now we're sitting at about 2,000 stores, a little plus, a little minus. We've lost some stores because of the pandemic.
Yep. And
that just is what it is. But obviously, we've gained stores. The low point was around 1,000. Now it's about double that, okay? But in the 90s, when you're looking at 10,000 stores, plus the simple fact that books were available other places as well, they started fading away from that, but they were still available for a small time, at 7-Eleven or the convenience store or something like that. That was a lot of books to be printed for 10,000 stores.
Yep.
And a lot of these stores that open up during that time, they just open up because of the fad.
Yeah.
They literally open up because of the fad. It's kind of like a coffee shop. Let's just talk about a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. Coffee's the fad, okay? People are drinking coffee. All of a sudden, here in Oregon, mm-hmm. every single corner has a drive-up coffee shop.
Every corner.
I mean, that's not the case out of the state. You go to New Mexico or Florida, that's not the case. Okay, but here in Oregon, every single that and marijuana shops
and comic shops.
There's one on every corner, and that just is. It's the fad. It's what people were wanting. Okay, so in the 90s, that was the case. So all of a sudden, these random shops just started popping up, and I remember them. I remember down the street, a comic shop popped up. Oh, you're in the comics? Oh, well, it's a good investment, I hear. Might as well get into it. They didn't know anything about it. They just started ordering a bunch of stuff that they can because they thought it would sell out.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any clue. They didn't have the business savvy for the comic book market because you have to be a smart comic investor to run a comic book shop.
Yeah.
And it shows. Just in the simple fact that 9,000 of them closed.
Right. Well, I mean, at the time there was money to be made.
Yeah.
When I was, I grew up in Venice Beach, California, And my first, comic shop, not shop, but it was a newsstand called Lincoln Pico News.
Yeah.
But just up the street in Santa Monica, there was a place called Heidi Ho Comics. I used to go there all the time. And then, later on, I moved to Thousand Oaks, California.
Yeah.
And when this boom was going on, in a strip mall, of all things, just a little strip mall, they put in a Heidi Ho Comics right there. They started branching out. So even the veterans that were there, they were capitalizing on their money demand. They started opening multiple shops.
Yeah.
I think he opened up 3 shops, besides his main one. And so it was happening everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And just imagine 9,000 shops closing. Where's that inventory going?
Oh my gosh.
Those other 1,000 shops eat that inventory.
That's right.
They go to, hey man, are you still going to be around? Yeah, you want to buy my stuff or whatnot,
Yeah.
Because they didn't piece it out. There's no way these shops took the time. Maybe a few did.
No,
but the majority is like, take it all.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yes, and exactly. Pennies on the dollar to buy this stuff. It had to go somewhere.
Yep.
And that's what, for the time being, during the 90s and the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, that's the inventory you were still dealing with at that time. So,
Yep.
But that's a lot of shops just to up and vanish over a 3 or 4 year period.
Right.
And it's also a lot of shops to pop up. Before that, before that, it was about the same, about 1,000 shops, and all of a sudden, it's 10,000.
Yep.
And then 3 years later, it's back down to 1,000.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Unbelievable.
All right, Bob, you are up next
Sure
from
thing.
Jason.
Jason Doyle, he says, I was a kid in the 90s and remember comics being available at drugstores, grocery stores, and I'm sure a multitude of other high-trafficked areas. At some point, I lost interest in comics and didn't pay attention to what was happening. When I hear the term bubble referring to comics, I just think about the crazy high print runs everyone always talks about. I have no clue what the secondary market was doing in terms of prices. This bubble seems to be centered around the increased prices due to tax time, stimmies, and the fact that the pandemic seems to have triggered the reactivation of a large group of former collectors who are becoming aware that there is a massive market for these and other collectibles. I think we are floating in a different bubble than we were back then. Comics died off in popularity back then, resulting in print runs plummeting. Comic books and comic-related material have never been more popular than they have been since the onset of the MCU. I think things will settle down after the pandemic is officially over and people have less free money to throw around, but comics are here to stay. Take care and have a sip of coffee on me. Much love.
All right, let's go.
All right. Jason, here you go.
Cheers, my friend.
All right.
So, let's break this down a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk about some of the factors right now that affect comic books. Movies. That wasn't in the 90s. Okay. TV shows. That wasn't in the 90s.
Not really. I think you had the Flash back in the 90s.
Trade paperbacks is a big thing. Hardcovers are a big thing right now. Toys were a thing back then, but they're still big right now. Video games are a big thing right now. Billion-dollar companies behind these publishers.
There's that.
That's a big thing. The mouse being behind, Warner Brothers, whatever, behind DC, whatever it is.
Marvel.
It's big. There's a lot of money to be had. Okay,
Sure.
And there's properties evolving around these companies that are worth billions of dollars. Okay, now the comic industry is small in comparison to the Hollywood industry. It's not even close. But the Hollywood industry depends on these properties being developed, and they kind of leech off that. Okay, The Walking Dead was a property of a comic book. Okay. They want that to go on because they want to find something like The Walking Dead again and make it a TV show. Okay? So it's worth them to make these products right now, or these titles or new titles or whatever they are, because eventually they might want to suck off that thing and move it to the Hollywood format.
It'll be their next big cash cow.
If none of that exists, where do they get their ideas from? Because right now, it's a majority of their ideas.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't want that to go away. And so there's a lot of working pieces that, even though the comic book industry doesn't generate a lot of money in comparison to what it used to, it generates a lot of secondary money to these companies because of these properties are so popular, because of new characters. Because what if Null becomes something in the MCU? Okay, that's a brand new property that wouldn't have been developed. Very seldom do you get a superhero movie or something like that that's not based on an actual character.
Right.
I mean, Hancock?
Hancock, there's one.
I mean, is that one of them? I don't know. But, I mean, think about it. Very little of that genre of movie.
Right. I just want to say something real quick.
Yeah.
You know, because I was out of comics for a while, so if there is a Hancock comic book, I don't know about it.
But anyway, I was just something like that. You know, I'm putting that. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's almost unheard of for them to take a property, just make it up, and call that a superhero movie.
Right. Right.
So I mean, there's all sorts of working parts that will keep the comic book industry moving, whether sales go down or up.
Right. And there are so many properties in movie and TV that are based on comic books that are not superhero.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there that have no idea that it's actually based on a comic book. Yeah. Like, you know, most of the people that I know have no idea that Road to Perdition was based on a comic book. You know, and so it feeds a lot more of the industry than people, I think, admit or even look at.
Yeah.
So.
And they get kickbacks for that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
They make money off that. So I mean, Robert Kirkman makes money off Walking Dead TV show.
Yes, he does.
You know,
now he's making money off Invincible too.
You know, exactly. So I mean, you know, just think of it that way. You know, so there's all sorts of parts that are in place right now that weren't in place in the 90s. Even though, like I said, the market isn't as big as far as sales wise, there's other revenue being generated that still goes to these creators and still goes to these companies. More, it's so diversified. You can't just look at the one area how many copies it sold.
Sure.
As far as the back issues back in the 90s or whatnot,
right?
The blue chip titles, they were still blue chip back then. They were still selling back then. They dipped a little bit, but they bounced right back up.
Right.
And they kept sometimes they're just, it doesn't matter what's going on. They're just going to be worth money. It's just, you know, old Action Comics or old Batman or first Wolverine. They're always going to be worth money. It doesn't matter what the market is. There's always going to be some kind of demand for that stuff.
Sure.
So, I mean, the bubble didn't really affect them that much. The bubble was based on new stuff.
Right.
The bubble was based on the 2 million print run of Image Comics or Death of Superman. It wasn't the birth of Superman affected. It was the death of Superman that got affected.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, and then, you know, when it comes to the 90s, you know, with all the comics that I bought because I was buying multiple copies, you know, you look back on it, and if I would have not bought those multiple copies and took the money I was spending on those and just saved it, I could have bought a bunch of those blue chip books.
There you go.
You know, and that's actually a good strategy for now, y'all.
There you go. All right, you got the next one as well.
All right. One other thing he says inside of this, I just wanted to mention. Sure. He said he thinks we're in a different type of bubble.
Yeah.
And I think what we're getting to in this discussion is that we're not in a bubble.
Yeah.
This has to do with investment. And right now we're riding a high in investment. This is a seller's market. That's all it is.
Yeah.
People do have disposable income, the pandemic, all these things, you know, kind of feed into that.
Yeah.
But really, I wouldn't consider it a bubble, but a wave. Yeah. Everything ebbs and flows. So right now, prices are up. It's a seller's market. Eventually, as they always do, some of that's going to come down. It'll become a buyer's market, and it always ebbs and flows that way. And right now, we're just in a big wave.
I agree. I don't think there's any bubble at all.
Yeah.
I think it is where it is right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the next one comes from Evil Ernie 69. He says, if the bubble was like the 90s, there would be more holofoil, prismofoil, and die-cut covers instead of all these variants. Laughing out loud. Not going to lie, I would totally buy new die-cut covers or embossed covers.
I want to get the most common misconception about the 90s out of the way. It wasn't the variants that caused the bubble.
Except for X-Men.
Well, I mean, no, it wasn't even that. It wasn't. I mean, you're talking about one book that has 4 different covers.
Yeah.
Okay? Right now, we're talking about every book has 4 to 20 different covers.
This is true.
So even back then, the X-Men or the Batman, Dark Knight, whatever it was, you know, that had the variants, that wasn't the cause of that wasn't even a thing. It's a minor blip, what it is. And you know what? It was cool to have a few variants back in then. There was the hollow foil, the die cuts, and the gimmick. They called them gimmicks, okay, back then. And there was a little bit of that going on. And quite a bit of that was going on through other publishers. Valiant was one that was very heavy on the shiny stuff. Image did a lot of that kind of stuff as well. You know, Marvel and DC did it as well.
Yep.
But for the most part, the variant, what we know today as a variant, okay, is not what caused the 90s bubble.
No.
It's not even in the same category as compared to, you know, you mentioned the X-Men, okay? Tell me 3 more.
That were like that?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Okay, I can tell you about 20 from this week alone.
Yeah.
Okay, big difference between the two. So I want to get that misconception right off out of there. The variant wasn't the thing. The gimmick ones might have had something to do with it, but they didn't do those to the degree what they do now.
Yeah.
As far as variants.
There was a Batman cover that had 4 different colors.
Yeah, that one. That's I referred to the Batman.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but really, I mean, think about it. I mean, it's not. There's variants. There was some different variants. I know that like Top Cow would do some different variants with the Gen 13 stuff had different variants and stuff, and they were there, but not to the degree of what it is today.
Right.
So I just wanted to get that out, and that's pretty much all I wanted to say on that one, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they didn't have exclusives back then either.
Yeah. So I mean, we're gonna hit on the variants here in a little bit. I have a rundown at the very end. And we're going to kind of hit the differences between the two. So,
all right.
Anyway, anything you want to say on that one?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. I got the next one. This is from Jeff Polachuk. I think that's right. Yep, sure. Says, I was around when the bubble burst. I wound up stopping reading comics for a few years after. Didn't like the storyline at the time. I did eventually come back. I don't think this is the current situation. I think there will be a price correction at some point, but no real collapse. Your videos are always informative. Keep up the great content. Thank you. This is another thing that was a huge thing in the 90s.
Yeah.
The books were bad. The stories were bad.
They were.
They were horrible. And that's what didn't keep the audience coming back. They read the book and like, what the hell is this? This is stupid.
Right.
What, do you think I'm an idiot? I'm not an idiot. But it was. I mean, that was the big problem was, for one, you have an inconsistency from publishers as far as that they're getting their books out on time. That was a really huge problem that Image had, for one, and Marvel for them, for instance, or whatnot. So the continuity of the books were just like, come on, where's this book? By the time you got the book out, you lost interest because the story wasn't that good.
Nope.
And then the second one is even worse.
Yeah.
That was a huge problem, and I don't think that gets talked about enough.
Yeah, I think Todd McFarlane says it best that, as far as he's concerned, cool always sells.
Yes.
And, he came out at a time when he brought cool to the table and everybody else started doing cool.
Yeah.
And, but cool is amazing when it's the one thing.
Yeah.
But when you flood the market with cool
Yeah.
and don't give any credence to anything else, people get sick of that real quick.
Yeah.
And so, all the big pouches, all the big action scenes, all the, the levity that, that they brought to the stories, that's all that was there in every issue, every title.
Yeah.
And it became boring.
Yeah, it was. It was boring. It was bad. I mean, I asked, tell me good stories from the mid-90s, and then it's hard to think of it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved the X-Men. X-Men was one of my favorite titles. Yeah. And, when Claremont stopped writing on the X-Men, I lost interest in that book really quick. And I love Jim Lee. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But I lost interest in my X-Men really quick, and I've never been back to that same love that I had.
Yeah. I think this is one of the biggest differences between now and then. Mm-hmm. Now we have such a variety of just awesome stuff every month that will keep you coming back to comics to read, to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
You might get disenfranchised with Marvel or DC or whoever, but there's other stuff for you to keep going, to keep you wanting to go back to the comic shop on Wednesday to pick up the newest copy of Geiger or whatever it is. There's new books every week with great stories. We didn't have that back in the 90s. No. They just fell. And they were all the same. That's another thing. They were all the same goddamn story.
They were.
I mean, you couldn't tell the difference. And it's the same thing, Marvel put out 140 titles a month at their peak. And it was the same damn story for every one of them.
Yeah.
They don't do that now.
That's true.
No,
they don't.
So, I remember hearing, sometimes the panels were exactly the same in books.
Yeah.
That's the same panel they used in that book. And it was.
Yeah. Lazy.
But anyway, that's a big thing. That really does get overlooked. The actual story itself that keeps people invested in books, that's what makes this market right now a lot more solid than it's ever been before. So, anyway, I got the next one also. This is from Rafe. He's been a collector for a very long time. Mm-hmm. 80s and 90s were great for a long list of reasons. Teenagers then were more carefree about things and had fun, including comic collecting and cards and toys, etc. A lot of those teens now, including me at the age of 46, same age as me, no, I'm 45, have careers now where they can afford more and still enjoy the hobby reading. I don't see a bubble bursting this time. I think key comic prices are increasing at a rate too quickly, which is not sustainable, so that will slow but not burst. I have a budget. I stick to each week, and so many have to trim down the number of comics I buy, but will not be stopping. Thank you, Bueller. The age of the collector is different right now than it was back in the 90s.
Absolutely.
You don't get that burst of teenagers running in buying all these comics, or these high school kids, whatever, buying all, I'm going to pay for a car later.
Right.
You don't get that right now. You get the people like Rafe who went through the 90s and remember it. And they're wiser. And they're spending their money wiser on comics. And they're either spending on stuff that they read and enjoy, or they've learned from their past mistakes. They're like, you know what? I'm not going to buy 3 copies of that book. I'm going to buy one. If I like it, maybe I'll get another one or whatnot to invest in. It's just a different collector.
Yeah. You
still get people coming in. I don't want to say that there's not people coming in from outside, because there is, but the flood obviously is not there. It's not even close. I mean, it's like a fraction of a percentage of what the flood was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that, we're almost through this pandemic thing for the most part. Mm-hmm. And so let's just say we're peaking right now, and we're still not seeing anything close to what that was.
No.
So we're going to be all right.
We're going to be fine.
So there you go.
I think our biggest worry was, Diamond going down, but seeing what's happening in the industry, I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So, good stuff.
All right, you got the last one.
All right. So this one comes from Zoskarad. I think that's how you pronounce it. He says, the pandemic hit and suddenly people weren't spending as much money on transportation, restaurants, theaters, events, etc. Some people ended up with a surplus of money and chose to spend it on comics. Comic speculators went into overdrive and started buying up more books to sell at higher prices. Comic publishers took advantage of this turn in the market by putting out more and more variants and incentive covers. Stores, both physical and online, have had to spend a ton of money on excess books in order to get those incentive covers and keep up with demand.
Okay. So there was actually more to this comment, and if you guys want to check it out, please go do it. But I wanted to highlight that section. There was some things in there that just aren't correct. Mm-hmm. The one thing about the variants, he's talking about how they ramped up. It's the opposite. They actually went down. I'll just give you an example. The comic industry shut down for 3 months. For 3 months, there was no comic books.
Right.
No comic books at all. For 3 months out of this year, there was no comic books. It took them 4 months to get back to the par after they started coming back. You remember when there was only 2 Marvel books a week? When there was only 1 DC book a week for a month? And they slowly got back into the rhythm of putting out books? The last thing on their list was actually releasing variants of those books. There was lines of variants that got canceled. Zombie ones, whatever they were. I remember Marvel had a few that just never saw the light of day.
Yeah, they had like 60 covers on one that never saw.
Exactly. So as far as that comment talking about the publishers ramping up the variants, just go back a year ago before all this happened. There was a lot more variants back then, and then you have to put this into play because this is part of it. 3 months of not having any comics at all.
Yeah.
4 months later, after they started doing comics, is when they finally got back to somewhat full strength. Okay. And still, to this day, I don't think even though they say they are, they're still struggling to make things happen, okay? And so that's not the case, and I don't want people to think that's the case. There are variants out there. There's a ton of stuff out there. There is, but, I mean, just go look a year ago. Go look at one of my preview videos from a year ago, and you'll see a difference. I saw a difference right away, just in the length of my videos, just how long the videos are. Because I'd be like, oh man, there's a lot of variances. It's going to be a longer video because every cover is 4 seconds. And the average length of my video has dropped compared to the 2, to a year and a half ago or whatever it is. So it's actually not really the case. They still are making a bunch of stuff. They still are making a bunch of variants, but they're not, that statement that he makes in there that they're making more than they ever did before, or whatever it is, it's not really, it doesn't hold water.
Right.
And yet, like I said, you have to put those factors in. 3 months that they shut down.
Right.
The months that took back to them to get. I mean, I didn't make a preview video for like a month when they were coming out because it wouldn't last more than a minute.
Yeah.
And so I incorporated it into the copy video because there just wasn't any books coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like Dark Horse took them 6 months after the thing to get back and going.
Yeah.
So
I think the one thing that you can say as far as variants that is a fact, that since comic books have come back, we have more exclusive variants being sold than we ever have before. And I know this because, I mean, there were only a few different companies that were offering exclusives. You got a ton of companies that are offering their own exclusives now. And I used to have a good list of who they were.
Yeah.
It's out of control now. I have no idea. There's so many of them.
Well, the main thing with that, and honestly, it's because there's no Comic-Cons.
Right.
And a lot of you get these exclusives from these creators firsthand in Comic-Cons. They still need to make money.
Right, and they do offer signings with it as well.
Exactly. So they had to go to a different option, like, coming up with more exclusives for these websites or CDC or whatnot and do these signings for them because there's just no Comic-Cons going on to offer these books, because almost every Comic-Con I would go to, you'd meet a creator and like, oh, we have this book for this con, and you could buy it from them,
Right.
It just wasn't an option. So I think if you were to balance that out, I think it's very similar to where you take that away, they still have to get rid of those books somehow or do something, and you put it in another direction. But we're missing all the ones from there. So if you did have the con still available, maybe that's the same number that it was before. So,
Sure.
Anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all. Was that the last one?
That's the last one.
I think that's the last one. I did write down some things about the bubble that I just wanted to discuss. And some of I'm going to hit on the 90s crash, some of the things that happened, what led to everything, and kind of compare them to what's going on today. And you can comment on here as well. The 90s crash, now, like I said before, there was just way too much supply and not enough demand.
Yeah.
And that's what really was the main thing. In 1996, Marvel declared bankruptcy. That's when they went under. They weren't backed by a huge mouse with unlimited pockets.
Nope.
They went bankrupt. In 1993, like I said, they had 140 titles coming out every month. Different titles. Not weekly or bi-weekly. 140 different actual titles in a month. They only have about, 40 now?
40, something like that.
There's a lot of bad shops, like I said back then. A lot of people just open up shops. They hear it was a fad. We'll just go rent the space in the mall. We'll order some comics and sell them. They really just wanted to capitalize on the moment right there, and maybe didn't even have any long-term goals other than just to sell those books really quick, and that's about it. So you don't have that right now. That's not the case. Let's see. People back then thought every book was going to be worth $1,000.
Yep.
Every book. Every number one. Wow, this will be worth buy my car. No, I think our expectations right now are more set to what the actuality, okay?
Yeah.
The Star Wars, High Republic, whatever it is, okay? People are like, yep, that's a $20 book now.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, that's how much it's worth, $20. Okay? $20 is going to get you you and your kids a meal at McDonald's. That's what it's worth, okay?
Right.
It's not going to buy you a new Geo Metro.
Nope.
But back then, they thought it would.
Yep.
And that's a big difference than comparison. Back then, I think there was a lack of information. I think there was just like you didn't know. You thought that they would. There was they literally thought that was the case.
For most of us, your information was coming from Wizard Magazine.
Wizard Magazine, or the comic shop owner who just wants to sell the million copies of the books they got in the back.
Absolutely.
So the information just wasn't there. It's widely available now.
Yep.
You just got to weed through it. There was more of the rock star artist back then was kind of a big thing. It wasn't really based on the book itself. It was like, look at the artwork, and that's what was selling these books.
Yeah.
And that kind of contributes to what we had bad stories back then as well.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, it did contribute to the crash, but it was an amazing time.
Yeah.
Something we'll never see again.
Yeah.
People waiting in long lines for these rock stars.
Yep.
And the news covering it.
Yep.
It was an awesome time.
It was. And then, like I said, a little small thing is the gimmick books. I think that for some reason, I think that the gimmick books get a little bit more attention than deserves, because I don't think it was a huge factor.
And negative attention. I don't think it should be negative attention.
Because honestly, I miss that stuff.
I do too.
I miss the shininess.
Yeah.
But that was some of the things leading to the 90s crash. Some of the bigger things that really was going on back then. Right now, what we're seeing today, and these are just, there's very little supply and high demand. That's how it is today.
Right.
I mean, even if you have it on your pull list, there's no guarantee you're going to get it.
Right.
That's just the way it is. I don't go to a store and see multiple extra copies of books sitting on the shelf. I see one or two.
Sure. I mean, there's a couple that the comic shop will overbuy because it's gonna be hot.
Sure.
Like you're gonna buy a ton of Berserker,
Yeah.
which they, and my shop still has a ton of them on the shelf, but he sold a lot of them.
Yeah.
But that's gonna happen. But for the most part, you don't see a ton of extra copies.
Yeah, it's just not the case, and that's not how ordering works now.
Right.
Ordering works now to where the shops put in their order to Diamond or whoever, and then Diamond tells Marvel whoever how many copies. It's not like Marvel, we're going to print a bunch of these copies, and then we're going to give them the Diamond, and they do it. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Okay? So it's the opposite of what it was. They don't just print millions of copies and give them the Diamond and say, hey, go sell them. It's based on sales that are coming from comic shops and how many they're ordering. Yep. And a good comic shop is going to order what they know they can sell.
Exactly.
And it's that easy. And another thing is, if it sells out, what do we get? A second print.
Yep.
We get a second print because it sold out. We get a third print because it sold out. It's based on sales. It's not based on, let's just print 8 million copies of this.
Right.
So there's a big difference right now. Marvel and DC are billion-dollar companies back behind them right now.
Right. They're not billion-dollar companies themselves, but they are backed by billion-dollar companies.
They got people with deep pockets, right there, and their properties are worth millions and millions of dollars.
They are.
So even if something were to happen to DC Comics, somebody's going to want to pick that up.
Absolutely.
You don't think Marvel would pick that up?
They're
or Disney?
They're going to be making Batman movies for years.
Yeah. I mentioned that Marvel only has about 40 titles in comparison to what they did, years and years ago. There's only about 2,000 shops now as a comparison to 10,000. And just thinking about the inventory, the difference in inventory between 2,000 and 10,000, it's astronomical.
Right.
That used to be out there that's not out there now. I think, like I said, more people have realistic expectations about what books cost or are going to be worth. There's a bunch of info out there right now for you to learn about these books. There's great stories as well that really contribute to people sticking to comics quite a bit longer. Let's see. The variant market, there's a market for it.
Yeah.
Whether I like it or not, there is a market for it. And people are okay paying a higher price.
Yes.
People are okay paying $20 or $30 for a variant right out of the gate. Not in the secondary market, right out of the gate. Day one, I'll pay $30 for it. The reason why is because people don't mind it. I mean, literally, I saw a thing sold out 58 seconds. Shannon Mirror, boom,
gone. I got mine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so there's obviously a market, so it's a little different. People enjoy the artwork.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people really are buying those because of the artist.
Absolutely.
And because of the artwork themselves. So it's almost like its own little market.
Yeah.
Kind of doing its own thing. So it's kind of cool to know that it's out there. Let's see. The Hollywood trend isn't going to go anywhere. I'm not a fan of the Hollywood trend myself, as far as Hollywood is driving prices of books and what people think. Whatever happens in Hollywood makes my books more valuable. I've never been a fan of that. It is what it is, and I accept it. Yeah. But it's not like something I'm like, oh man, I hope they make a movie about this eventually. It's not really my thing. Let's see. The coronavirus obviously did have an effect, but like I said earlier, this is coming to an end. We're wrapping things up. Yeah. And I think, like I said, realistic expectations are there. And yeah, you'll see prices go down on these key books, but I don't think you're going to see a major burst, if you want to call it like that. I don't think that's...
It'll dip, yeah. But it's not going to be a fallout of the industry.
Yeah, I think we'll have even more people fall. I think we're just starting, to be honest, and there's more things in place to keep the people coming back. Yeah, as opposed to in the 90s where there wasn't things in place. That's right. To keep people coming back. There's a lot more stuff right now that people that used to collect that didn't collect are coming back and they're enjoying it, and it just is what it is. Yeah. So that's why I think we're okay. The bubble is there is no bubble.
The bubble, baby.
I don't feel it. I remember, I just when you look at the similarities or the differences, and there's huge differences.
Huge differences. I don't see really any similarities.
It would take multiple years to get back to that point where what hit in the 90s.
Yeah, okay? I don't think we'll ever see that again.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, any more thoughts?
No, I think we pretty much hit it right there. I think that's a great list of. I love when you do your research. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, you guys, we keep saying it, do your research, buy what you like. And look, if something is hot right now, maybe wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. And get it for a lower price, because it will eventually come back down. And I don't want to take away from people who, the sellers, because they're striking while the iron's hot.
Sure.
But that's business. That's capital. I mean, that's the way it works. And so, but the bottom line is the consensus that we have is we're fine. We're going to be just fine.
No, I think it's just a very exciting time for the comic industry.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just on the verge of just really going where it can be.
And cons are coming back.
And cons are coming back. We're talking about them and stuff like that. I think it's just, there's no reason why, a year from now this doesn't double in growth.
Yeah.
I mean, people might think something differently, but I think there's so much here that we enjoy that other people can enjoy as well.
Yeah.
And when I look at it that way, I don't see an end in sight.
Right.
And that's the way I look at it. So, there you go.
There you go.
All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears and go to our final 5 brought to you by Comic Proline. I will go first. Yeah, let's see here. I think those are yours up there, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, I got some really nice books here to share. I have The Last Ronin #1. This was actually sent to me from the guy at Bird City Comics.
Nice.
That's a Matina cover right there.
If you want a bag and board for that, I can get you one.
Nope, I don't.
All right.
I got Geiger #1. This is the really cool variant cover. I like that. I think it's by Larson.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty. It might be wrong, but anyway, I thought that was cool. I did pick up Noctera #1. Finally, I like that cover, so it's just regular price. So I got that one. This was from a friend of mine. No Heroine #1, the trade. This is the full series. Bob gave this to me, so that's pretty cool. And he also gave me this one right here. This is Harley Quinn #1, brought to you by Shannon Mayer.
Love that.
He doesn't like ones with letters on it, so he gave me this one.
The trade dress.
Look at that one. Look how cool that is, man.
That's
awesome.
Amazing cover.
That's one of my favorite ones
Yeah.
he's done. I
Yeah.
mean, they're all pretty much favorites, but anyway. That's my first 5. Now,
Final 5.
Our final 5. There you go. Sorry. Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
Okay, what do you got?
All right, so I wanted to go last because I got something a little special.
Sure.
I'm actually going to do a 6. So, just going out of order here. But
right.
I brought some Fantastic Four Jim Lee goodness.
Okay.
There's issue #1. Of course, this is when, Marvel tried to hire him and Liefeld. And,
Oh, yeah.
and here's #2 with some Namor action on there. And here's issue of #3. Sorry, I should be doing the Vanna White thing.
I like doing the Vanna White
Okay,
thing.
okay. And then here's issue #4 with the old Christmas motif going on there.
There you go.
And then issue 5, which is one of my favorite covers of all time. I love Jim Lee's Doctor Doom.
Cool.
And so there's my final 5. But I got something special.
Okay, let's see it.
So
You got a box here.
I got a box. And I got this box from a good friend of ours. Our buddy God Tank.
Okay.
And I wish I could say this was a commission, but it's not a commission because I didn't pre-order it.
Okay.
He did some covers with his own artwork of Something is Killing the Children.
Sure.
And as soon as I saw one of those, I immediately wanted it.
Yeah.
And then I had him sign it and send it into CGC.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Because that's my thing, right?
I know it is.
So here it is. I wanted to show it to you because I think this is just absolutely amazing. God Tank, you're an awesome artist, brother. But here is, I'm going to give you guys can see that very good. I'll try to get as much glare off of it as possible. It is the Something is Killing the Children, #11.
Nice.
And signed by God Tank. It's even got a certificate of authenticity here that he's put on the back.
Well, that's pretty cool. I think I saw this on his Instagram.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's very cool.
I think it's one of the best covers from him. I just love it. I had to have it.
He is a very talented guy.
He is. He really is.
Will this stay up there?
I think so. And then he sent me something a little extra.
Okay.
I'll read you the card. And maybe, Bueller, if you wouldn't mind on the video, maybe showing a picture of my Kingpin cosplay.
Sure. Yeah.
Because a lot of our newer viewers probably haven't seen it. But God Tank sent me this thing. It says, "This is for the best cosplayer of Kingpin ever.
That's awesome.
Enjoy, Bob, my friend. Much love, God Tank." He says, "Be careful of the base, left foot on stand." Yeah, the left foot did come off. I gotta put it back on. But he sent me this amazing Kingpin figure, and I just think that's awesome, dude. Thank you so much. I
That's pretty
appreciate
cool.
you very much. This is going on the wall of fame, behind me when I do my videos. It's going to go right in between my bullseyes and my daredevils. And, dude, thank you. This is awesome.
He does make a really good Kingpin, but he's losing weight. He's trying to get down to Professor X.
That's right, I am. Next Comic-Con, I'll be in a wheelchair, man. Skinny with a suit. We'll see.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah. So, God Tank, appreciate you, brother, but I wanted to show that off the way we like to showing off artwork, and that's amazing.
Yeah, he does some really good stuff. Go check out his Instagram, God Tank, and you can see a lot of his work. There's a lot of his collection as well. He shares a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And he also does stuff on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Not as much as he used to.
No.
But he's also a good cook.
Ah, that's right.
And you know what? When I do my travels, I'm coming over to the God Tank.
There we go.
Get some barbecue from that guy.
He's an awesome brother.
He is. So that's awesome, man.
That's
really cool. And does it say on here? Because obviously it's a...
it'll say signed by.
Wow, that is really cool. Fantastic. Love it. Very cool, man.
So that's one of the prized possessions of my collection now.
There you go. That's not a bad final 5+1.
+1.
And a figure.
There we go.
There you go. Awesome, dude. Well, you know what? It's time to switch gears again.
All right.
And we're going to go to Robbie's Pick of the Week.
Hey everybody, I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups from Pop Culture Philosophers, and you're watching one of the best YouTube channels out there, Comics with Bueller. Specifically, you're watching the new Coffee and Comics show. And my Pick of the Week is...
The Silver Coin by Image Comics, brand new anthology horror series. This first one written by Chip Zdarsky. Great pick for Robbie's Pick of the Week. I got a chance to read this one. Did you get a chance to read it?
I read most of it. I thought it was pretty good. I'm actually waiting for my LCS T-Paw. It has an exclusive cover that's really good. And I'm pretty much getting it for cover price. It's pretty cheap. And so I'm just waiting to get that cover myself. But like you said, it's by Chip Zdarsky, which I think you like that guy.
I dig him.
Yeah, he writes, what's that guy that you like?
Daredevil.
So there you go. And he does some other stuff. Stillwater.
One
of our favorites. But I really like this book. You know, it wasn't my pick of the week. But it's Robbie's Pick of the Week out of spite, I think it is.
Out of spite?
Yeah, just because he didn't want to agree with me.
Right.
You know, Robbie does what he does.
He does.
Or whatever. But it was a good book. And like you said, every one of these books is going to be different, kind of like Haha is. It's a different story, but they all revolve around the silver coin. Mm-hmm. And whenever something revolves around a coin, it can't be good.
Yeah, this one reminded me of a good Twilight Zone episode
Yes.
where there's an object that, grants, some type of good thing, but in that good thing, it also takes away from you something nefarious,
Yeah.
And that's what it reminded me of. It was a great read.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the series.
There was a TV show based off Friday the 13th that was like they go find these artifacts.
Yeah, okay.
Or something like that, and every one of them was kind of possessed or something like that.
Right.
It was that, and also the Warehouse 13 did kind of something similar to that.
That's right.
But anyway, I thought it was a good book. I thought it was a good pick from Robbie, even though it was a spite pick. But you know what?
Spite pick.
Spite pick. So tune in next week for Robbie's Pick Ice Cream, man.
Spite picks and chalupa chats.
There you go. But go check out Robbie's channel, Pop Culture Philosophers. He just hit over 10,000 a few weeks back, and he's doing some really good stuff. And he interviewed Jennifer from Comics Will Break Your Heart. That was great. Or they had a discussion. It's not an interview.
Yeah.
Break.
And then he was with us this last Thursday night when we discussed the March Madness aftermath, when we talked about all the great content that dropped last month.
There you go.
And
were you there?
Sometimes part of it anyway.
It's always nice to show up to your own show.
I know. Oh, that was terrible, man.
Anyway, but go check out Robbie's channel. It's a featured channel on the homepage. It's good stuff. It's worth your time.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to our Was It Good segment, brought to you by Scout Comics.
Scout Comics.
Hey, you think you Scout Comics? Go to scoutcomics.com, enter the code Bueller. You save 10%. You can get their monthly subscription box. Not bad. You get all their books. And speaking of that, I actually have some books from them.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. You want to go?
Sure. So you're we'll do your books first?
Yeah.
All right. So the first book that you have here is Sam and His Talking Gun, number 2. And we get the glare off of there.
It doesn't matter on that one.
Okay.
We don't use that camera for this one.
Okay.
Do you not watch the show?
I don't do the editing, so I don't remember that.
What about the show?
I watch the show. I'm there with you on Mondays. Well, most of the time anyway.
No,
Bueller,
Yes.
was it good?
It was good. It's by Scout Comics, the sponsor of this segment. So they're our first time I think we're actually doing a Scout comic. But this book came out in December, #1. So it's been a while since it's hit. And I almost forgot about it. And I was surprised that my LCS had it, and they did, so I picked it up. It's a little disturbing because it does deal with younger kids in the beginning, kind of tragic story about his abuse or whatnot, But he literally... the character has a gun that is talking to him, or we think is talking to him.
Sure.
He thinks it's... I don't know whether it is or not, okay? But the main character is a assassin, and right now he's in like a mental facility or whatnot, and he's trying to get his talking gun back. I don't know. That's the thing. I want to know if it's an actual talking gun. You really don't know until someone says, "Man, did your gun say something?" And we haven't got to that point yet. But it's an easy, quick read, and the artwork is fine, and it's an interesting story, and I like it. Like I said, I have to go back and read issue 1 just to kind of get update because it's been 4 months. But I enjoyed it, so I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of time in between the copies. So awesome. Okay, cool deal. So your second book is The King in Black, #5. This is the end of the series.
Yep.
And Bueller.
Yes, Bob?
Was it good?
It was okay. Here's the thing. The gap between 4 and 5 hurt this book. The month delay hurt the momentum for this book as far as
I would agree.
Storyline. Because, after 4, like, oh, what's this? What's this Captain Universe thing? And I just forgot all about it, to be totally honest. It's like, oh, here's #5. And that, it's too bad that that's the case, because it really did hurt the final landing that the story has. Full disclosures about what happens, Noel is the new king of the symbiotes. It's a battle between him, or not Noel, I'm sorry. Eddie Brock beats Noel, and now he's the main guy.
He's the King in Black.
King in Black. And there you go. And that's really all that happens in this book. He makes a weapon out of the surfboard and the hammer, and they have a battle, and he wins, and that's about it. And there's some stuff with his son as well. Mm-hmm. But really, it really did hurt the delay. And it's too bad that was the case, because they should have had this all flushed out. We didn't have to wait an extra 5 weeks for issue #5, that we did. And then you had all these tie-ins that are out of order, that don't make any sense because the book got delayed and everything, Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned, Daredevil, the last Daredevil was like, oh, apparently Daredevil made it out okay,
right?
Because it was out, everything was like, oh, we're all good, And Kingpin's good. We're literally in the city where this is taking place. Oh, we're all good.
Yep.
And that came out like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah. I hear you. I read it, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So your third book is The Resistance Uprising, and this is issue 1. So here we go from AWA Upshot.
Yep.
And Bueller.
Yes, Bob?
Was it good?
Not as good as I hoped. That was the thing. This is volume 2 of this series. This is very wordy. There's a lot of reading involved in this book. More so to the detriment of this book. Sort of like they're over trying to explain things. And there's already been a volume 1. Mm-hmm. So I kind of already know what's going on. Okay? But there's so much dialogue in this thing, it kind of drove me away from the story. There was a couple of action sequences here and there, but for the most part, it was just dialogue of stuff I already knew. And the premise is, this is there's an event that kills like millions and millions of people.
Like a pandemic.
Yeah, a pandemic or whatever. I can't remember for sure. And then there's a few thousand people that come out of ashes that have powers, and just a wide range of different powers or whatnot that survive. And that's kind of what this book is about. Those people who have powers.
Yeah, if you're resistant to the virus, you have powers. Exactly.
And the government's trying to figure out who's who or what's what. And that's kind of it. And also Erratic is a spinoff of this. Mm-hmm. It happens after the events from the first one. I don't know. I'm trying to do all the AWA titles, and maybe issue 2 makes this one better. But they just explained a lot of stuff I didn't need to know.
Yeah, is this one done by Straczynski as well? Yeah, J. Michael Straczynski. And the first volume was like that too. I think I dropped off after issue 3 because it just became a little convoluted, and so I was interested to hear what you thought about it.
Yep, there you go.
For sure.
Doesn't sound like you're going to jump on it.
No, I'm not.
All right. So, Bob, you're up next.
Yes.
And I got your books right here.
All right.
Bob, your first book right here is Geiger. And Bob, was it good?
It was good. It was good. I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the artwork as much. I think if Jason Fabok would have been on there with Jeff Johns, I think that would have been even better.
Yeah.
But I loved the story. I loved the character. It's about a guy who, at the brink of nuclear war. He has a bunker that he's built for his family. Neighbors try to come take it from him, and when the bombs are going off, he gets shot and can't go down, and he gets caught in the blast.
Yeah.
And when millions die, for some reason, he actually survives and becomes kind of this glowing man that basically has power. Geiger, exactly. And but the thing that's really cool about it is that post-apocalyptic, you have different factions and kingdoms, or what do they call them? Like camps,
Sure.
that grow. And so there's one that's basically in Las Vegas that is like a kingdom.
Yeah.
And the leader of that one has died, and his son is kind of taken over, and he's not a good king.
It's Fallout New Vegas.
Exactly. And he wants to go after Geiger to prove to the rest of the world that he's just as good as his father.
Yeah.
And so that kind of brings us to where we're going with this story. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
I say Fallout New Vegas because literally, if you're a fan of Fallout New Vegas, there's literally this Roman group.
That's right.
In New Vegas. And
From Caesar's Palace.
Yes. And they do the same thing in this book.
They do.
They have a whole group like that.
Yeah.
They play the game. I liked it. It was actually my pick of the week. I actually enjoyed the artwork. I thought the artwork was really good. I don't know what your problem is. But I
didn't like the inking. I think it was the inking I didn't like.
Okay. Yeah, the inking sucked.
Yeah.
No, I don't like that. No, I thought it was really good. I think we both agree it's a good title. Are you adding it to your pull list?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it on my pull list.
Very nice. All right, let's move on to Batman number 107, brought to you by James Tinian the 11th. Mm-hmm. Bob, was that good?
It was good. It was good. I love Dan Mora's artwork. Not Mora. Is it Jimenez? I think it's Jorge Jimenez.
Sure. I don't know.
Whatever it is. Yeah, Jimenez.
Okay.
Moritori's doing the colors in it. The colors are amazing in the book. And of course, Tynion is spinning his story in the aftermath of the Joker War. I love what they're doing with Scarecrow, because Scarecrow is basically bringing the city to terror without using chemicals, which I thought was a really cool spin. My only issue with the book is, now that we're in the aftermath, Batman seems to be kind of not the main focal point of the story. He's part of a larger narrative with the team that he has now. Sure. And that kind of convolutes it. I mean, Harley Quinn is his sidekick, and then of course he has the Ghost Maker, or whatever his name is. Ghost Rider. And so I would like to see Batman more as the focal point of the story, and I don't think he is right now. But other than that, I mean, it's a phenomenal looking comic book. Yeah. When you're going through it, the artwork and the colors are just a thing of beauty unto themselves.
Did it introduce a new character, or is that next issue? I think there's some buzz about a new character.
I think there was somebody at the end. I'm not positive. I don't remember, but
I haven't looked at mine yet.
But so. He keeps introducing new characters, so it doesn't surprise me.
He set a record, dude.
Right.
What are you gonna do? All right, your last one here is Venom number 34. This was one of the final things for the King in Black tie-ins. Bob, let me ask you this question. You've never heard of it before. Mm-hmm. Was it good?
Meh. Meh. I mean, I don't want to say it was bad and say no. But I mean, I didn't need this issue. Yeah. When we got to the end of King in Black, we knew that basically Eddie Brock was going to be this god of light, and then we took a whole issue to kind of show how he goes from being. You
could have summed this up in about 2 pages,
which is what they pretty much did. Inside of King in Black. Okay, Eddie Brock's the king of. We already knew that. So to me, it was an unnecessary issue. They could have done so much more with the. If you don't want to focus on Eddie, go focus on his son, or something else. But it just seemed like an unnecessary issue. It was more like a filler.
Hey, his son kind of got dropped after he was so possibly gonna take out Noel.
We got 2 pages at the end of him where he's going through
it's just
something.
like, it
that's
wasn't really a main plot of the story the last couple issues and stuff. Even though he was like, oh, he's powerful enough to go up against him. And that's kind of the feeling you got.
Well, people were speculating that since Eddie Brock wasn't going to be Venom anymore, that Dylan was going to be Venom.
Yeah.
So
not that great. Not worth it.
Yeah.
One more issue, you're done.
There's only one more issue. Does that mean it's the end of Venom? No, because Marvel will capitalize on that somehow.
Well, sure.
But
there should be a Venom title.
Yeah.
It would be dumb not to. Whoever writes it, there just should be at least something.
Yeah, but, I just hope they put somebody good on it.
Yeah. Anyway, our Was It Good segment, it wasn't that positive this time around. It was about half and half. That's too bad.
Yeah. It is too bad.
I think only one of my books I enjoyed, and one of your books. I mean, your Batman was okay, but the guy, I don't know, whatever.
But this was a great week in comics. A lot of stuff dropped.
We just picked the wrong ones.
We did. Actually, my pick of the week was Tankers by Bad Idea.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my copy.
Yeah, I think you'll love it.
He keeps pointing that out too, by the way. Anyway, all right, guys. So that's we don't have what we're doing reading next week because we're not doing the coffee video next week because, like I said, I'm out of town, so we're taking a week off. But like I said, I'll probably do something in its place with me and my daughter or something. We'll have to wait and see. So that is our Was It Good segment for this time around. Brought to you by Scout Comics. Like I said, go to their website, enter code Bueller, save 10%. And we're not going to do our random thoughts segment this week. We're just going to kind of cut it short. Also, just want to say, if you're in the Albuquerque area, I fly down on Friday. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I come home on Monday. I'd love to hang out. Saturday is really the day I'm taking aside to go to different comic shops in Albuquerque and kind of see the town and stuff like that. So if you're around in Albuquerque, let me know. I know a few people there already. I'd love to meet you. Love to meet you. Really, it's actually one of my highlights is meeting people that give me their time to watch our shows and stuff like that. So it'd mean a lot to me if you wanted to say hello. So
that'd be awesome.
Anyway, and also I just want to say another. My variant comes out this week. It did get delayed just a little bit as far as shipping goes, so I'll have half the shipments out by the end of the week, and the rest will be going out in the first part of next week. And so I'm sorry about the little delay, but like I said, they're coming. They're not coming. Right. Putting it to you that way. And it's already sold out on Midtown, so there must be some buzz around it a little bit. So I think that's pretty cool. Also, the Bird City Comics, we got that new promotion with them. Don't forget to check them out.
Yeah.
The dealer code now works. You can get that Spider-Man Miles Morales Greg Horn variant set. It's going to be on sale. I think it's already on sale as of a couple days ago. And you can use the code Bueller, and then there is that secret variant that you will qualify for if you use the code Bueller. And there's more stuff in the works with them and us that are very exciting.
Very exciting.
And you'll learn about that very soon. Very soon. I mean, right around the corner. And I can't wait to share it because I told Bob, and Bob's like, ooh. Ooh.
I did.
So the relationship with them is going great. So it's because of you guys. So I got my hats off to you guys and all the support. Really, that's about it. I think this was a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Love the God Tank stuff that you had shared with us.
I was blown away.
Yeah, and you got yourself a little toy to play with.
I do. Kingpin, baby.
Go right on his bathroom next to the tub or something like that.
It'll be right here next to my head.
Rub-a-dub-tub, Kingpin.
In the tub.
I don't want to know.
I don't even want to go there, man.
Anyway, that's it, man. I don't know if I got anything else. I'm probably forgetting stuff, but you know what? It is what it is. Mm-hmm. That was a good show.
Good show. Great conversation.
All right, the bubble ain't going to burst.
The bubble, baby!
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. Oh, yeah. Our next topic, okay? We want to do this every few months. So when we get back, our next topic is going to be another Q&A.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to do this every 4 months. And that's kind of when the last time we did it 4 months ago. Just because we just get asked a lot of questions.
We always do.
And they're always a lot of fun, just to randomly hit on different stuff. So if you have any questions for us, and I will announce it on the preview video prior to the week we do it, just have some stuff in mind, and we'll do another Q&A. And
those are always fun shows, too.
Everything's, you can ask us anything, whatever you want to know. We're pretty much open books.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, his wife's out of town this weekend. So.
Oh, gosh.
Look how happy he is. Look at that.
You're crazy.
That can't be a coincidence. You should have watched this, does she?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, what's going on there?
You kill me. You kill me.
Buddy.
She's going to kill me.
It's been this happy in months.
Love you, babe.
There you go. All right, Bob, you want to take us out?
Yeah, you guys don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Later, everyone. You're screwed.